So whose responsibility is it to give ex-servicemen and women with PTSD the support they need? And is enough being done? I'm joined now by Tom Fox, a former rifleman diagnosed with PTSD himself, who's now set up an organisation promoting mental health in the workplace. Hello to you, Tom. Gus Hales speaking there about his decision to go on hunger strike. He says he feels abandoned. He was working with a charity. He was relying on that charity to provide the support to him. But it raises the question of, is it the role of charities to be providing this support?
Excellent question. Yeah, I don't think it is it, really? You know, at the end of the day, the guy's, signed up to join the armed forces. He's done his job. He's come back out. He's a member of society, same as everyone else. He's a citizen of the United Kingdom, and he deserves to be treated by the NHS, who he pays his taxes to. There's a massive, I think, burden on the charities, really, because of, we have given a lot of money to them, and they do a specific role, and they do a fantastic job. But really, we should be looking at the charities adding that extra care, not being the primary source of care.
Yeah, the charity involved here was Combat Stress, and they've said they're very concerned about Mr. Hales' decision to go on hunger strike, especially in this weather. They've met him. They've offered him the opportunity to meet with one of his clinical team for a mental health assessment. He's refused that. But they do say, due to demand, they no longer offer open-ended treatment. There is only so much that can be done. Yeah, exactly.
They're working to a budget, and they're reliant on, people making donations to them. And of course, there isn't an open-ended budget for it. They can't do that. Also, the NHS took away, what, £40 million of a budget from them last year, and has reinvested that in their own veterans' mental health team.
And the Defence Secretary has announced an extra £10 million of funding for mental health. Is that going to help?
Who knows? Will it get swallowed up in the NHS, and what will happen with it? I really don't know. I can't answer that question to it, but I really do think that the NHS really should be carrying the main burden with this, and that's what we pay our taxes for. I'd expect a really good level of service if I was going in for any other sort of wound or injury, so why not for a mental health injury?
That we need to achieve parity between physical and mental health.
Absolutely, yeah.
Tell us about your experiences, Tom.
Well, my own personal experiences with the NHS have not been good. They've been far from positive. And in my experience, Combat Stress offered me the only viable treatment that I came across. At the time, actually being diagnosed with the illness was very hard to come to terms with.
When were you diagnosed?
2014, 2015. But I'd been ill for quite a long time before that, but didn't realise it.
And let's just talk about this, because we talk about PTSD, don't we? But what is it? How does it manifest itself?
Well, that's it. I mean, it's a amalgamation of a lot of different symptoms. So it can be different for a lot of other people. It's not what you'd necessarily, or what the general public necessarily think a serviceman suffering from PTSD is. I think you got that old sort of Hollywood Rambo sort of thing where the guy isolates himself off, doesn't like loud bangs, and becomes sort of... That's not it. It depends on the person and how their symptoms manifest. But I mean, one of the things is being hyper-aware, hyper-arousal, and that doesn't mean you're looking for threat all the time. It just means that you're hyper-aware of everything that's going on around you all the time. Memory loss, sleep loss, numbness, disassociation, lots of different symptoms that come on. And of course, that can be then exacerbated by depression and anxiety. And again, just more symptoms, depends on the individual. So it's very, very hard to actually pin down and diagnose PTSD anyway. You may go to your GP as someone who's been out of the army for quite a while, and the GP might say you've got depression, give you some antidepressants and off you go. But the underlying problem hasn't been addressed in any way, it hasn't even been questioned.
And in your case, you say you were unwell for quite some time.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Formally diagnosed.
Yeah, it took a long time before it was actually realised that, before actually someone said to me, what did you do in your past? What is your life? What was your previous life? And at that point, it became obvious that it was more than just a bit of depression and a bit of burnout.
We're talking about this now. There is greater recognition of it within society. Is it openly discussed and addressed within the military for those who are currently serving?
I can't talk about guys that are currently serving, but I still do think there's a lot of stigma attached to any sort of admittance of being mentally unwell or having a problem psychologically. You don't really want to admit that. That can have detrimental effects to your job, your role, that sort of thing. very much as it can do still out here in civilian life. You know, working in a corporate environment, how many executives want to own up that they've actually got a mental health problem or they're not feeling very well mentally for fear of stigma and maybe what it would do to their career.
And of course, we talk about it as PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder now, but it's nothing new, is it? We're looking at the 100 years since the end of World War I, and then, of course, it was shell shock.
Well, yeah, I mean, shell shock, again, I mean, that's, you know, if you look at what shell shock was and the stresses those guys are under, but you go back to the Greeks called it soldier's heart. I mean, it's nothing new. It's been going on for, well, since men picked up, I don't know, clubs, rocks, whatever, and decided to go at it with each other. It's it just is what it is. OK, Tom Fox, really interesting to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's cross over to Sky Sports Centre now for an update from Selena.